Okay, we're back live. Move this back over here. And, oh no. There we go. And then press play. And then I'll figure out the time and try to get us back on track of where we're supposed to be at. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. It's a good morning. I've got to keep saying that to myself. This many mess ups and 8 minutes in, and let's get the clock on the right time. All right, that's close enough. Welcome back, Easy Graphics. Thank you for being here this morning and putting up with all of my technical issues. The clock is back working and life is back good, and we're going to get straight into that sprint because we're 8 minutes in, and I will see you at the bottom of the hour. Good morning, Better Days. So good to see you. Yes, first sprint. Here we go. Okay, so that's a little earlier than time, but I'm gonna call it anyways, just cause, yeah, let's get technology on our side. Make sure, yeah, I'm having, okay, all good. So how did you guys do on that? I think I got a couple of words down. 104. Got 104 words. Did you guys accomplish anything in that short sprint? Maybe. Well, it's good to have you here. Probably got 2 more minutes till you wanted to start the sprint anyways. I'm working on updating an introduction, and then yay, Easy Grasses, you got 130 better days. Awesome. Good start to the morning, especially with all the tech issues. Get those out of the way. Yay! Finally, edits to that short nonfiction book. Nearly there. Hey, that's what we're doing. Edits and updates and yes, and yes. Oh, I mean, sometimes you just, ooh, yay. I think I know what you're talking about. I hope it helps in your decision making. I love polling because technically, as the author, you can vote as many times as you want. And if you really hate the outcome, you can choose something different and say it was part of the poll. Plagiarism check. Yes. Plagiarism check is important. I mean, we do write our own work, but when you're working in nonfiction, you never know how close your writing is to what other people have put on the page. So, you don't want something that was an inspirational source to turn into, oh, I just jacked this whole paragraph and it's 1/10 of my book. Oh, I would be interested. See, and this is why you got to pull multiple platforms, as many platforms as you have access to, because it gives you a better rounded view of things and how things can come together, because you never know what people are going to find good. Yeah, see, I did it, I combined it all and then, went, okay, what are people saying? And for me, because I did a poll on this cover. So I had 3 covers that were designed that I polled, and I got a definite answer out of that. And then the chapter on polling your audience and how to do it came up, and I was like, okay, I got to do this right. So I had another cover designed, and then I ran that cover that new cover I had designed against the other cover that I had already run that had been designed. And hands down, this one, the second one that got designed, won out. It just, I think 10 people voted for the other cover and 40 or 50. I mean, it wasn't even a contest. It was at one point one of the polls that I was running, I think there was 10 or 15 votes up and not a single vote for the other cover. So this became it. And I mean, I do have to say that it goes super well with the series. For a secondary cover, for a second book, it goes really well. Let's get the timer restarted here. Thank you. I mean, yeah, it goes with the series, and that's what matters. So, I mean, I love my cover designers. They're awesome. And I now have all of that series covers because my goal was to like try to release them all this year. And then I figured out I'm crazy. I'm seriously crazy. Why do I want to release 4 books in a single year? I mean, it's great to get a backlog up that fast, but sometimes you just want to take your time with things. And so if I get my 3rd book out this year, that I'm happy with that. So, all right. Well, let's get back into our clock and I will mute and we will get going on this. See you guys in 25 minutes. All right, we're into our 5-minute break. Whew. How did that work out for you guys? Hope it's good. Hope you had a productive sprint. I got 6 pages of editing done, and I found a glaring error. So, sometimes I play with the first person versus other perspectives. Okay, Easy Graphics said doing a read aloud from Microsoft Word. Spotted massive errors left a lot. Yes, that helps a lot. So I am currently doing a second edition on Imperial Edge and redoing it, doing a massive edit on it, because I want to include my new lead magnet for the whole series into the publication for the rest of the series. And I was like, if I'm going through all the trouble of redoing all of this work, because it is, like, there's editing and getting ready for publication, and then there's actually publishing it. I mean, you just change even the last couple of pages, and it messes with how the pages line up, how everything goes into it. Yeah, all the formatting, and then you have to re-upload it to all of the different sites, even if you're only using Draft to Digital and Amazon and Ingram Spark for your distribution. I mean, you know, small distribution pool for physical books and digital books. That's still at least 6 to 8 hours of uploading, checking formats, checking designs, downloading, re-uploading, rechecking designs, and then you have to go through the 2 or 3 day process of them saying, okay, this is good enough. And my thought is, if I'm going to go through all that work, because it's a whole week worth of work to get this onto the site, and on the back of my books for, hey, here's my new lead magnet, yay, then I want to do a edit, like, you know, because glaring error in the first chapter, I left a whole paragraph of first person. Now, it was only three lines, but it's still 3 lines of first person in my third person document. So that to me is a huge error. Anybody else get any work done or want to post any writing sprint totals? Yeah, well, yes, going back to edit can be painful. I found that if you do it too often or too much, then the story gets lost in the edits. But when given an opportunity like this, I just couldn't turn it down completely. And I'm not doing the kind of edit, well, I am doing the kind of edit that I want to do to re-update the story and stuff. But I can do that because even though I self-published, I haven't had the kind of sales that would, if I change it now, before it becomes a backlog that you know, people read through regularly, that then I can make, you know, name changes or shift a couple characters around, and people won't notice because not a lot of them have read it all the way through. Yeah, so that's really what I'm doing at this point. The clock is now at a standstill, so take that off, put it back on. All right, we're gonna start this timer and get back into our final sprint. And then as after this sprint, then I'll spend the last sprint talking about library distribution. So I hope you guys have prepared your questions and that you're ready to try to like grill me, because I have some really awesome information about library purchasing and how books, both digital, physical, and audio, both physical audio and digital audio, get into libraries. So we're going to have fun with this in 25 minutes. See you then. All right, we're officially into our last 5-minute break. So I'm going to switch modes here and get out of editing mode. Excuse me. And over into informational mode. Shake off this last couple of minutes. How did you guys do in the sprint? I'm getting invaded. Good morning. I'm on live and on camera. See you in 30 minutes. Okay, so yes, this will be super informational and hopefully helpful. Okay. You're struggling with a hook for a chapter, subchapter, title. What do you got so far? Who else benefits? Yeah, that's not very catchy. I can imagine you want something catchy like, I mean, we can go infomercial style and say something like, but wait. Yeah. I can't even use the right accent. Bit rubbish of a chapter title. Maybe extra benefits include. No, now I sound like medication. Yeah, brainstorm different hooks and come up with something. See, that's one of the problems with nonfiction is you have to make sure every single word is like on point. With fiction writers, if our chapter titles can be chapter 1, chapter 2, pretty straightforward. So, all right. How'd you guys? Anyone else want to post or talk about anything before I go into the library stuff? Yeah, I have to give it to Rick Riordan. He has the best catchy titles to his fiction books. I'm just saying. If you want to talk about or if you want to go like not just, fiction chapter 1, you could do the fiction chapter 1 with the romance edge where you put the random quote that makes no sense to anything else, but it's, sensationalized or educational or relates to whatever period you're talking about. I can't tell you how many romance books like put Kant up there or, Dickens, and it's like Dickens hated romance, but hey, let's throw his quotes into a book because we're talking about the Victorian era. Yeah. All right. Well, I'm going to restart the clock here. And we're going to go right into this information session about libraries. And I told you that libraries have a special department and title for that department for buying things. And it's called, wait for it, acquisitions. There's a whole study on acquisitions, and it's like a major that you can get in the department. So, who knew buying stuff was a major? But acquisitions does a lot more than just acquire things. They also, depending on the security system for the library, they tag it and they process it. And then you get from acquisitions in to cataloging. And often cataloging and acquisitions are connected. So either you do a departmental acquisitions, where a library is small enough that the teen librarian and the children's librarian and the head librarian and the adult collections librarian or the reference librarian orders their own materials. And it goes into a big budget and gets put in a nice long list. And then, as money becomes available, things are pulled off that list, purchased, and then those go to catalog, like they're received in by acquisitions, they go to cataloging, and then they go out. But that's a mid-size, mostly public library system to have that level. When you get bigger systems, you have whole departments of this where there's a manager on top and then there's actual acquisitions librarians underneath them. Some of them might be cataloging, some of them just might be acquisitions, meaning their whole job is to read up on what's popular, what's on the major list. They go through, there's usually forms. So big news, any level of library, there are usually forms that you can fill out that says, I want this in this library. And so if they haven't already purchased it, or if it's not already on the purchasing roll list, they will add it because you've requested it. And that's something that we need to remember as independent authors. The best way to sell our books to libraries is to get our fans to ask for them. And if our fans ask for them, they're going to be in the library system. Like, for instance, my books, my poetry books, my Miranda series are all in King County Library because my mother lives up there. And so she requested them. And so they bought them. And now they're there. Now that's for physical books, mind you. Digital books are a little different, but we'll get to that. So with physical books, they curate them. There's people that it's their whole job for, systems like King County to sit and figure out, what do people want to read? What are people going to want to read? How many copies of this we need? So we're going to post a coming soon display before we even get the book. We're like, oh, you can request, to be put on hold for this. And then what that does is that tells us, oh, we have only 10 holds for this. Oh, we only need 1 copy. Or, oh, we have 200 holds for this and it doesn't come out for 2 months. We're going to need to pick up at least 5 or 6 copies of this if anybody's going to be reading it in the next year. Now, the average checkout time for a book is 3 weeks. If it's a really hot book, it might be 2 weeks, but generally you get 3 to 4 weeks with a title. So the maximum that a book could be checked out in a year, of course, is 365. But who reads a book in a day and returns it to the library? There's circulars to this. Even digital books don't return that fast. And so what most libraries estimate is a usage ratio if a book never hits the shelves, like if it's just constantly getting pulled and put back out, pulled and put back out because it's requested that much, is 12 circulations a year. So 3 weeks for them to have it, 1 week to recirculate it. If a book gets more than that, it's probably because it got person read it really fast, got it back to the library really fast. We don't count on that for our numbers purposes. So with that ratio, if you have 200 people that want a book and you can get 12, like within a year's time, which is, pretty average, like no one wants to wait over a year to get a title. 6 months maybe, but not over a year. They have to do that math. Part of acquisitions is doing that math. So, okay, I have 200 people that want this. I can get roughly 12 checkouts in a year. So divide 200 by 12. Well, we get about 20. So I'm going to need, to fulfill the need for this, I'm going to need 20 titles. But how much does the titles cost? Ooh, okay. The titles cost this much. We only have this much shelf space. Weighing out. All right. If I pick up 15 titles, yeah, a couple of people are going to have to wait a little longer than a year. Cross fingers. We'll put one of those titles not in the system so that it just circulates, so people can't put a hold on it, so that people can find it organically with it on the shelf. And then the rest of them we'll put into this hold pile and hope that at the end of that we have some usable copies that don't have to be replaced. Because, 200 checkouts later, a book is not like the jelly stains and the drops in the water, and yeah, you're lucky if a book survives that long, even if it's properly covered, which is something that acquisitions sometimes in some departments do. So when they catalog, or before they send it to cataloging, they cover it and process it that way so that it gets... Have you ever wondered why the library copies have that? Sometimes some places, like Baker and Taylor. Yeah, people eat and read. People bring books into places where they haven't washed their hands yet, but they're still holding their book. People flip a book and put it straight down instead of taking a wonderful bookmark that's provided by your library. Whew. But hey, what can I say? People are reading them. That's what matters. Yes, books are meant to be read, and if we're not actually figuring out how to fit them into our lives, then they have no value just sitting on a shelf. Yeah. Easy Graphics says, where books travel. Oh my, yes. So that's physical books, okay? And here's the major thing that we need to recognize. So on one side is requests. So just like how reviews are really, really important for our purchases, requests are what are important for libraries. Because if your title is requested, then it will go into a request list, and those get bumped up in what gets purchased. And once it's in the system, then other people can see that it's there and check it out and keep it in the system, so that it's not taken out. The other side of it, and this is what people forget about libraries, is most libraries, especially in the United States, but in other countries, most libraries are publicly funded, which means that they are government-run institutions. And what most writers don't, especially independent writers, don't realize is that government-run institutions have to have, drumroll please, recognized contractors for purchasement. And for a long time, Amazon was not considered a recognized contractor. And in some government institutions, Amazon is still not recognized as a recognized government contractor, which means that we cannot spend government money to buy things on Amazon. Now, a lot of libraries have gotten around this by using Friends of the Library monies, or they've gotten around this by getting a independent credit card that isn't linked to specific vendors or vendor accounts. But that's not all libraries. And so even though libraries might want things that are only available on Amazon, they can't always get them depending on the library. That's become more of a minority case than a majority case, but it's still the case that most libraries cannot get the bulk of their collections purchasement from Amazon. And so they use certain services or other services. Now, when you do extended distribution, other library places for purchasement then get that. Ingram Sparks already has a dissemination venue for library purchasement built into it. So that's the value of paying for having your paperback on Ingram Spark and on Amazon, so that your royalties are higher and you're available to the avenues for which libraries have to go through in order to purchase books. And the side note of that is that you end up in their catalog. So, the new catalogs that are going to the acquisitions librarians that are looking for new content or new things or the latest, greatest stuff shows up. You show up in that catalog. You show up in those rankings even as an independent. And so that's the benefit of going wide with your physical books. Now let's talk about digital and audiobooks. So the bulk of the American market of digital and audiobooks for libraries is Overdrive and their app, Libby. Now, Overdrive and Libby, because Libby is a part of Overdrive, they've just migrated, was like how Google won the information wars. 3M had products, different companies had all of platform ways of putting books on Kindles and on mobile devices and on other e-readers like Nooks and so on and so forth, and tablets, because that's the market, right? How do you get this on there? And some of them went with their own apps, and some of them went with downloadable, like how for, let's say you want to put out a reader magnet, and so you have Story Origin. Story Origin will send a link with all of the different formats for whatever your device is, and then you can just download it directly into your library catalog. Well, there were different systems of this for libraries, and libraries could purchase into these programs based on either buying books for their collections or paying a monthly service fee and then getting access to a collection. There was a wide range of opportunities back when this was new and young. Just like there was a wide range of search engines back when search engines were new and young. And now we have Google, and now libraries have Overdrive. They basically won the market, and it's not a total monopoly, but Google isn't a total monopoly, and yet the word is simultaneous with searching now. So, with that in mind, and again, this is not legal advice. This is just me talking to you guys. Take this with a grain of salt. None of this is for legal purposes or whatever. This is just understand the system so that you can figure out your marketing plan better as you see fit. If you want to get into libraries with your digital audio or digital ebooks, you have to put them up for sale on Overdrive. And one of the ways, like that's one of the boxes you can click on disseminators like Draft to Digital and Find Away Voices. If you are exclusive to Amazon, you will not be on those platforms, and you will not be on the digital side of libraries, and that's the cost. You can be exclusive to Amazon for your ebook and not be exclusive to Amazon and ADX, the Amazon's audio Audacity, not Audacity, their audio platform. You can be not exclusive with the audio and exclusive with the digital and not exclusive with the physical by putting it in Ingram Sparks. And that's a lot of how independent authors now are getting themselves into libraries, is with physical book purchases and digital audiobooks that can get picked up by Overdrive. And what that does is then, if I have to have that digital copy of it, if I can't wait for the physical copy to hit my library shelves, or I can't wait for the audiobook copy to hit my library shelves, then I go over and I do page reads on Kindle Unlimited, or I just pick up the book on Kindle because it's worth that extra money to me for the saving of the time. And that's their choice, right? So that's a hybrid model that you can do to be in libraries, but still be in KU. And you know, but I mean, read the fine print. Amazon's always changing its mind. So who knows how valuable this information is going to be. They might decide, oh, all formats, digital, non-digital, have to be exclusive tomorrow. And I would be like, okay, I hope you read the fine print, because now I got to change my marketing as well. Yeah, so if it's not on Overdrive, libraries really aren't going to get the digital side of it. And because of that, if it is exclusive to Amazon, they can't purchase it. It's not like figuring out a workaround like they did for purchasing physical books from Amazon, when Amazon has not been and really isn't a recognized contractor for government institutions. Any questions? Have I just thrown way too much information at you way too fast and you're like, I'm trying to process this? Or have I lost everyone? All right, so okay, good. Morningstar says good stuff. Easy Graphics, that's a comprehensive account of getting books into libraries. I hope so. I hope this has been comprehensive. But I really would like any of your guys' questions or anything that I can help with. Easy Graphics writes, I am not with Ingram Sparks, so won't get paperbacks into libraries, I guess, but I'm with Draft to Digital, and Overdrive is ticked. Awesome. So you can still ask people to request the book. Unfortunately, unless it's a large library system, and I'll get back to your question as soon as I finish this up. Unless it's a large library system, like King County Library System, I mean, they're huge. They process over 1 million books a year. They actually won't have their own Overdrive. Most libraries, most of your counties and smaller libraries have a consortium, meaning a bunch of little libraries come together and they pay a specific amount a month for the number of people that they have in their system to have access to the books in a curated collection. And that curated collection is controlled by whatever section of libraries is paying into this. So it's it's a way that smaller libraries can get larger collection access digitally. And at the same time, those smaller libraries don't have any way to request what goes into those books. They just have to be like, oh, yay, there's more books because there was more budget. Hopefully our acquisitions librarians did a good job and are meeting our people's needs. And they do try. They really do try. So Easy Graphics put up a question. Can we donate a physical copy to libraries? Yes, you can donate a physical copy to libraries. I would highly recommend not doing that. And this is why. Most physical copies that get donated to libraries that are not actively requested by the library go to the Friends of the Library sale. And so it might get sold and for pennies on the dollar. Usually books in those sales go for 25 cents up to $1. And they're seen as used, even if they're brand new. And they're not processed into the collection. Because things to remember about libraries, when you're processing something into the collection, it has to be needed and wanted, because you don't want it touching your shelves. Because as soon as it touches your shelf, that's shelf space that it's taking up. And most libraries have to make sure that at least 55% of their collection is constantly circulating, because they do not have the physical space to shelve every book in their collection. It's a space to physicality ratio. And so if a book's not circulating, then it's taking up space, physical space, for physical books. Or digital space for digital books, right? You don't want it just sitting in the digital shelf, even though that has a longer lifespan and doesn't have to be curated as often, because our digital space is a little bit larger than our physical space. And the other thing is, if it's not a requested donated book, so not only does it take up physical space, it also has to be put into a library format. And so if it's a paperback, the cover has to be reinforced so that it can manage circulation. Like, these books have to survive children. They have to survive careless adults. They have to survive the book drop. So when people just throw their books into the book drop, depending on what gets thrown in when, heavier books and materials can squish and hit lighter books, or books can get damaged simply because they got caught the wrong way. And so we have to make sure that the covers aren't going to get torn off, that the pages aren't going to get damaged, and so they get reinforced. Even the hardbacks with the jackets get reinforced. There's ways to reinforce hardbacks that don't have jackets, and there's ways to reinforce jacketed hardbacks so those jackets don't rip and tear and that they survive longer. All things that have to do through processing, and that costs money. That usually costs anywhere from $1 to $2.50 a book. So when I take that in, I have to think about my shelf space, and I have to think about the cost, the cost in both the librarian's time to process it, and the physical $1 to $2 that it costs in materials to process it into the library collection. And so if it's not requested, meaning if someone on the other side isn't going to be checking this out, it's not worth it to the library and librarians. Okay, I hope that really answers your question in depth and probably too much. Any other questions? Any other thoughts that you guys have? So we're doing the 30-minute countdown here, which means I've gone through the bulk of my time. You're welcome. I hope you really take it to heart, because I know a lot of people don't understand these systems. Like, why would that be? So my intent is hopefully to help you understand why. And why there's, 3 things of Harry Potter up there at one time and not your book. And like, but my book's better than Harry Potter. Well, Harry Potter is popular, and there's probably 5 full volume copies, and you're just seeing 3 of one because that's how it's circulating right now. Yeah, people forget that libraries are basically a store where the material comes back and you want it just to keep going out. All Easy Graphics writes, all our books are way better than Harry Potter series. I mean, J.K. Rowling could write really well. But I've read that, and so I think I write on that level, but until people read my book at that level, I will never know. I'll never know if my book is equal to that. So, but no shade on Harry Potter whatsoever. I'm a huge fan, and I Gryffindor all the way. Personally, you can enjoy another house. Librarian, right? So I watch the new movies and think about how that relates to the book series, because one of the books actually talks about all of them and like went into these stories. It was like little snippets as like a subtext that Dumbledore wrote on top of notes of another thing, and a book that went out that was promotional, like purely promotional. But hey, I've read that much. My fandom's showing. I'm sorry. All right. Well, thank you guys all for being here. Do you have any last questions before I wrap up for the day? I hope you guys got a lot of good information in this last half hour. I also hope that the sprints really helped you out. Thank you. Yeah, I just love books. I don't read everything, but when I'm thinking about doing a TikTok series where I like go through the library and I go shelf by shelf and do like a TikTok video of a shelf and say, okay, haven't read, haven't read, would never read. And like just go through an entire library and see what percentage of it I've read. It's shelved. I don't know. I don't know if that's something anyone would be interested in knowing. Really appreciate you, Easy Graphics. And thanks to everyone for being here, and hopefully this was productive for you and informational in a way that you understand. Yeah, I want to be a book talker. I know. It's the librarian in me. All right. Well, I will see you guys tomorrow morning if you want to be here. From 6 to 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time for another 2 hours of 25-minute sprints. 4 25-minute sprints. So, see you then. Bye.